They broke the only law of the stars. Humanity retaliated in blood. The galaxy had rules, old rules written before most species could even name the stars. The most important of these was simple: do not kill another race in public, do not make the deaths a show. It was called the Silent Law, and every major civilization had obeyed it for thousands of years. Humans had always known it existed, though they had rarely been involved in serious interstellar affairs. Most humans lived on Earth, working, building, and exploring slowly, watching the stars through telescopes but never thinking much beyond their own world. John Carter sat alone in a small observation room at the Orbital Research Station above the Pacific. The room smelled faintly of oil and metal, and the dim light reflected on panels filled with blinking indicators. John had once been an engineer, fixing satellites and working on space probes. Now he was part of a small emergency crew tasked with monitoring unusual events in the nearby galaxy. He had seen strange signals before, strange ships moving faster than they should, strange weapons tests, but nothing prepared him for what happened that morning. The screen in front of him flickered and then a clear image appeared. It was Earth, though he could see it from the lens of a faraway probe. Suddenly, the screen split and thousands of small dots appeared. Each dot was a ship, alien in design, sleek and sharp, with colors John had never seen. The aliens had cameras, and through them John watched something that made his stomach turn. The aliens were not communicating. They were not negotiating. They were killing humans. Millions of humans, and they were broadcasting it. John froze. He did not scream. His mind tried to understand what he was seeing. In the streets of major cities, in small towns, in remote villages, humans were being attacked. Not just attacked, but executed. The aliens moved with precision, almost like they were performing a ritual. The images were everywhere on the screen, as if the entire galaxy was meant to watch. John's fingers shook over the control panel. He pressed buttons he did not fully understand, trying to signal anyone on Earth, but the stations were damaged. The networks were down. The aliens had cut communications before they began. Lisa Brown entered the room quickly. She had been monitoring a different sector, but she sensed John's panic. "What is happening?" she asked, her voice sharp. John did not answer immediately. He pointed to the screen and Lisa saw it. She could not believe it. Her mind refused to process the images. The humans she knew, the people she had grown up with, were dying on the screen, thousands of miles away, and no one could stop it. They broke the law," John finally said. The words came out slowly, almost like he was testing them on his tongue. Lisa nodded. She had read about the silent law, knew the consequences. Breaking it was supposed to be unthinkable. It was the law that kept the galaxy from tearing itself apart. If a species could do what she was seeing now, what else could they do? They watched in silence for hours. The aliens did not stop. There were no messages, no warnings, no attempts at communication. It was all execution, all broadcast. John and Lisa could not look away. It was not just fear that gripped them. It was anger, a deep, cold anger that spread through their bodies. In other cities and other countries, the same scenes unfolded. Civilians, scientists, leaders, ordinary people. Everyone on Earth saw pieces of it, though fragmented. News signals managed to get through for a brief time before being destroyed. But even in fragments, the horror was clear. Humans were dying in ways that were meant to humiliate, to terrify, to send a message. The aliens wanted the galaxy to know that humans were weak. Yet something unexpected happened. Not everyone panicked. In some remote bunkers, in small towns and secret bases, humans began to organize quietly. Kevin Moore, a former pilot, and Emma White, a scientist, gathered small groups. They did not speak about revenge yet. They spoke about survival. They spoke about observing the enemy, learning their movements, and waiting for the right moment. John and Lisa joined them. They traveled in small stealth ships, dodging alien patrols. Every day they watched the broadcast signals, analyzed the alien weapons, and recorded everything. They learned quickly that the aliens were skilled, but they were not perfect. Every attack left traces, every movement had patterns. Humans could study, humans could adapt. Back on Earth, the world was in chaos. Governments had collapsed, cities were destroyed, and millions were gone. But humans were resilient. Communities formed underground. Food was grown in hidden greenhouses, and people kept each other alive. No one spoke openly about retaliation yet. It was too early. The wounds were too fresh. But in the eyes of survivors there was a quiet promise. The law had been broken and justice would come. In the orbital station, John looked at Lisa. "Do you think we can fight back?" he asked, his voice low. Lisa thought for a moment. She did not smile, she did not nod. She only said, "We will. We have to, or everything we are will end here." John felt a shiver run through him. It was not just fear or sadness. It was determination. Humanity had been humiliated in front of the stars. No one would ever forget that. Days passed and humans began to move quietly. Old ships, long abandoned, were repaired. Weapons, hidden for decades, were tested. Engineers, scientists, and former military officers came together. They did not speak of victory, not yet. They spoke of learning, adapting, and surviving. Even children were taught how to hide, how to signal, and how to live without panic. Every small action was a step toward something larger. John and Lisa discovered something important. The aliens had underestimated humans. They believed humans would collapse under fear, that they would plead for mercy. They were wrong. Humanity was silent, yes, but inside the fire burned hotter than any weapon. Every human who had lost a friend, a parent, or a child carried that fire. It was not anger alone. It was resolve, a quiet but unbreakable determination to reclaim what was theirs. Emma White spoke during a small meeting in a hidden facility. "They think this is the end," she said, "but it is only the beginning. We have watched their fleets, studied their movements, and learned their weaknesses. They made a mistake. They made a mistake they will regret." Kevin Moore nodded. "We are not the same humans they saw on their screens. We are more. We have lost, yes, but we have learned. And when the time comes, we will show them that nothing in the stars is stronger than humanity united." As John looked at the stars that night from the station, he realized something profound. Humans had always been small in the universe, always underestimated. But the crime against humanity had changed everything. It had awakened a side of humans that had never been seen before, a side that did not bow, did not cry for mercy, and would not stop until justice was done. Lisa joined him silently. She did not speak. She only watched the flickering lights of distant stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens who had broken the law were celebrating their supposed victory. They did not know what was coming. Humans were silent now, quiet and hidden, but their minds were sharp, their hearts steady. And when the right moment arrived, they would strike back, not for greed, not for conquest, but for something far older and deeper. The right to exist, the need to defend their kind, and the justice that had been stolen from them. John finally whispered, almost to himself, "They broke the law of the stars and they will pay." Lisa nodded. "Yes, and we will remind the galaxy what humans are capable of." For the first time in months, John felt a spark of hope. It was not naive hope. It was not wishful thinking. It was the kind of hope built on steel, on preparation, on knowledge, and on the shared pain of billions. The galaxy had seen humanity as weak, small, and fragile. The galaxy had been wrong. The fire of retaliation had not yet begun, but it was alive. Hidden, silent, waiting. Humans would rise from the ashes of their world, united by loss, driven by justice, and ready to make the stars remember that no law was stronger than the resolve of a species that refused to be broken. And so, in the shadow of destruction, humanity began its quiet preparation. The stars watched, the aliens believed victory was theirs, and Earth remained calm. But in that calm, A storm was growing, a storm that would sweep across the galaxy in a way no one could imagine. John, Lisa, Kevin, Emma, and the thousands of hidden humans understood one truth. The law had been broken. The world had been stained with blood. And one day humanity would answer, not with words, not with pleas, but with force, precision, and the kind of relentless justice that would make the stars tremble after the massacre. Earth was silent. At first, no one knew how to respond. Governments had collapsed, communication networks were broken, and millions of people had vanished. The aliens believed humanity would panic, that the survivors would beg for mercy or surrender. They were wrong. Instead of shouting, humans went quiet. Silence became a shield. Cities emptied, people hid, and the survivors began to think, plan, and prepare. In a hidden bunker beneath what used to be New York City, John Carter and Lisa Brown watched the stars through old, repaired telescopes. Kevin Moore and Emma White joined them, along with a small team of engineers and former pilots. The room smelled of metal, oil, and the faint sweetness of stored food. It was cramped, but it was safe, at least for now. "They think we are done," John said, his voice low. "They think we are weak." "They are wrong," Lisa replied. "We have survived worse than this. We will survive them too." The group began to organize in ways they had never done before. They divided into teams. Some studied alien movements, analyzing every attack and broadcast they had been able to capture. Others worked on repairing old ships, bringing them back to life with scavenged technology. Some created hidden farms, growing food in underground tanks. Every person had a job. Every action was part of a larger plan. Emma White had found old schematics of satellites and research vessels. She taught a small group how to repair them, how to hide their presence in space, and how to gather information without being detected. They moved quietly, testing equipment at night, hiding in shadows and avoiding alien patrols. Even children were given small lessons in survival. They learned how to move silently, how to signal, and how to hide. Humanity was preparing, not for war yet, but for survival, and survival would lead to retaliation. Kevin Moore worked with pilots who had survived the attacks. They practiced maneuvers in old ships, modified with human ingenuity. These ships were smaller, faster, and harder to detect than the alien fleets. Pilots trained day and night, running through simulations. They did not speak of victory, only of skill, precision, and preparation. Each person understood that mistakes could cost lives, and failure was not an option. John and Lisa coordinated communication between hidden groups. Messages were sent in code, using signals that the aliens could not trace. Every transmission was brief and essential. They developed a network of information that reached across the remnants of the human population. Every hidden community, every survivor, was connected to the growing plan. At the same time, the aliens celebrated. Their leaders believed humans were terrified, that the remaining population was broken. They did not know that humans were learning, adapting, and preparing. The galaxy had never seen a species so underestimated. Humans were patient. Humans were quiet. Humans were deadly in their patience. In one underground facility, Clara Young, a former diplomat, began gathering records of alien culture. She studied their language, their behavior, their codes of honor. She taught others how to observe the enemy without being noticed, how to predict movements, and how to avoid traps. Every person learned that intelligence and patience could be stronger than raw power. As months passed, humans began to strike in small ways. Not attacks, but interference. Small supply ships of the aliens went missing. Communications were disrupted. Reconnaissance drones were captured and studied. The humans did not make a show of it. They did not want the galaxy to notice yet. They were silent, like shadows in the dark, learning, adapting, and growing stronger. John Carter worked on weapons systems. He knew humans did not have the same technology as the aliens, but ingenuity was a human strength. Using old missiles, repurposed satellites, and new designs, they created tools that could challenge the enemy. Each design was tested in simulations. Every failure was a lesson. Every success was quietly celebrated. Humans had learned that patience was as important as power. In the meantime, families and communities healed in small ways. People shared food, told stories, and remembered those who were lost. Grief was everywhere, but it was not weakness. It was the fire that drove them. Every survivor carried memory and pain, and that memory became part of their preparation. Humanity was not just learning to fight. They were learning to honor their dead, and every strike in the future would be for them. Lisa Brown led training sessions for civilians. She taught basic tactics, how to hide, and how to use intelligence to survive. She worked with young men and women who had never held a weapon before. Slowly, they became skilled in self-defense, communication, and teamwork. It was not about killing yet. It was about readiness, about becoming a species that could not be destroyed. John worked closely with engineers like Emma White, improving ships, creating hidden stations, and developing signals that could travel undetected. They shared knowledge across groups, using human creativity to overcome alien technology. The humans learned quickly. Mistakes were costly, but they survived, adapted, and grew stronger. In a hidden room beneath the mountains of Colorado, Kevin Moore gathered pilots for simulation exercises. They practiced intercepting alien ships, predicting movements, and escaping traps. Every move was carefully studied, every error noted. They were becoming faster, smarter, and more coordinated than the aliens expected. Patience was their weapon. Precision was their goal. Months turned into a year. Humans moved quietly across the planet, repairing what could be repaired, hiding what could be hidden, and learning the ways of the aliens. Every person knew the truth. Revenge would come, but only when humanity was ready. The world had been shattered, but humans were building something stronger from the ruins. John and Lisa often talked at night, looking at the stars. They did not speak of victory yet. They spoke of patience, of preparation, and of hope. They knew the aliens believed humans were weak, that the attacks had destroyed the spirit of their species. The aliens were wrong. Humans were quiet, yes, but the fire in their hearts had grown into a steady, unbreakable flame. Emma White monitored alien activity from a repaired satellite. She had discovered patterns, small mistakes, weaknesses in their fleets. Every piece of information was recorded and shared with hidden human groups. Humans learned where to strike, when to move, and how to survive. The galaxy watched silently, unaware that a species it had underestimated was quietly preparing for something the stars would never forget. Kevin Moore taught his pilots not just to fly, but to think like humans, to think like survivors. They learned strategy, patience, and restraint. They learned that power without planning was useless. They learned that humans had something the aliens could never fully understand: the drive to survive, the will to fight back, and the courage to act when the time was right. In the darkness of hidden bunkers beneath the ruins of cities, humans grew stronger. They did not speak of conquest. They did not speak of victory. They spoke of survival, preparation, and patience. They repaired, trained, and learned. They became shadows in the galaxy, unnoticed and underestimated, but ready for the moment when justice would be required. John Carter and Lisa Brown often reminded everyone of one truth. The law was broken, John said. The galaxy watched in silence. Now we prepare. When the time comes, we answer not as monsters but as humans who will never forget. Remember what we have lost, Lisa added. Remember the millions who died. Remember that they thought we were weak. We are not. We are patience and precision. We are memory and fire. We are humanity. And so the years passed quietly. Humans repaired, rebuilt, and trained. They did not attack, they did not show themselves, but they were everywhere. Hidden ships moved across the planet and beyond, gathering intelligence, testing technology, and preparing for the day when they would rise. The aliens thought humans had surrendered. They were wrong. Humanity had gone silent to grow stronger. The quiet preparation continued, building a foundation for what would come next. Humans learned, adapted, and waited. They remembered the law of the stars, the crime committed against them, and the millions who had fallen. The galaxy had watched the massacre, and now it would soon watch something else, a human response that would be precise, relentless, and impossible to ignore. John looked at the stars one night from a repaired orbital station. Lisa joined him silently. Together they watched the distant flickering lights of alien ships moving across space. They did not fear. They did not despair. They had learned patience, strategy, and preparation. Humanity had gone quiet not to die, but to become unstoppable. "One day," John whispered, "the stars will remember us." Lisa nodded. "And they will know that humanity never forgets." The quiet of Earth hid the fire of humanity. Every hidden group, every survivor, every child trained in secret became a part of the growing strength. Humans were silent, unseen, and underestimated, and the galaxy would not see what was coming until it was too late. For now, the preparation continued. Humans repaired, studied, trained, and remembered. They were not ready to strike, but they were ready to survive. And survival would become the first step in a justice the stars had never known. After years of preparation, humans were ready to act. Not all humans, not yet, but enough to send a message that would shake the galaxy. John Carter, Lisa Brown, Kevin Moore, Emma White, and Clara Young gathered in a hidden command center deep underground. The room was filled with monitors, maps, and instruments repaired from old alien technology. Every team had a role, every person had a task, and the plan was simple: precision, patience, and impact. "This is the first step," John said, pointing at a map of nearby alien outposts. "We do not attack everything. We strike only where we can make them notice without risking ourselves unnecessarily. We show them we are not broken." Kevin Moore leaned over the table, tracing the routes with his finger. "We have enough ships for small strikes. We know their patrol patterns, their weak points. We can hit supply stations, communication hubs, and research posts. Small attacks, high precision. We show strength without overextending." Emma White had worked for months on the weapons. Small missiles, hidden bombs, and computer programs adapted from alien designs were ready. They were not large fleets, not yet, but they were enough to surprise the enemy. Every device had been tested in simulation dozens of times. Human ingenuity had found ways to make old technology work like new, and every strike was designed to leave a mark without revealing the full strength of humanity. Lisa Brown coordinated communications. "Our signals must be untraceable. Every attack must look like a random failure. No one can know the source yet. Humans are still unseen. We strike shadows first, then wait for their reaction." She paused. "Once they panic, we act again. Timing is everything." Clara Young added quietly, "Remember, this is not about killing unnecessarily. This is about sending a message. We make them afraid, but not to become cruel ourselves. We fight for justice, not vengeance." The first strike was planned carefully. A small alien supply station orbiting a minor planet was chosen. The humans had studied it for months. They knew the patrol routes, the schedules, and the weak points. A team of pilots led by Kevin Moore would deliver the strike, while John, Lisa, and Emma monitored from orbit and coordinated remotely. Every step was rehearsed, every decision calculated. At night, the small human ships moved silently through space. They were fast and quiet, designed to be shadows in the void. The aliens on the station did not detect them. The humans positioned their weapons with precision, knowing that one small error could ruin the operation. John watched on the monitor, sweat running down his face, but his hands were steady. Years of preparation had led to this moment. Kevin whispered to his team, "Remember what we are doing. We are humans. We are precise. We are careful. Do this right and the galaxy will remember." The missiles were released. They struck the station at key points, disabling power and communications but without destroying life unnecessarily. Alarms rang across the alien system. The outpost was disabled, and chaos followed. The aliens scrambled, unsure what had happened, searching for a source that they could not find. The humans had struck silently, unseen, and the message was clear. Humanity was no longer weak. Back on Earth, survivors watched the results through hidden monitors. There were cheers but no loud celebrations. People knew this was just the beginning. They had sent a message, and the reaction of the aliens would reveal the next opportunities. The galaxy had begun to notice, but it still underestimated humanity. Over the next weeks, humans continued with small strikes. Alien communication hubs were disrupted, research stations were disabled, supply convoys went missing. Each time, the aliens searched and failed to find the source. Humanity remained hidden, quiet, precise. Emma White and her team worked tirelessly to improve technology between strikes. They created devices that could disable ships without destroying them, sabotage programs that could confuse patrols, and sensors that could detect movement before the aliens knew they were there. Every success made humanity stronger. Every failure was analyzed and corrected. John Carter coordinated multiple operations at once. He ensured that teams did not interfere with each other, that communications were secure, and that every attack was carefully timed. He had learned to be patient, to wait for the right moment, to strike only when success was nearly certain. Every decision was deliberate. Every action mattered. Lisa Brown kept track of the alien responses. Slowly, patterns emerged. The aliens were panicking. They increased patrols, reorganized fleets, and demanded explanations from each other. They did not understand who or what was attacking them. Fear began to replace pride. Humanity had learned the power of uncertainty. Clara Young worked to document the strikes. She wanted evidence of alien weakness, evidence that humanity could use later. She compiled reports for every small operation, including the reactions, mistakes, and outcomes. These records became a map of alien vulnerability, a guide for future actions, and a reminder that humans were capable of outsmarting a superior enemy. Kevin Moore's pilots became experts at moving silently and striking quickly. They learned to anticipate alien responses, to avoid traps, and to create confusion. They were not reckless. They were patient, precise, and careful. Each mission increased their confidence and skill. The galaxy had never seen humans act with such intelligence and coordination. Over time, humans began to take more daring actions. Small fleets moved closer to alien territory, striking supply stations deeper in the galaxy. Still, they were careful. Every mission was calculated. Casualties were minimized. The humans remembered what they were fighting for: justice, survival, and the memory of the millions lost. John Carter stood in the command center one night, watching a live feed from a disabled alien outpost. He saw panic, confusion, and fear. The aliens did not know who was attacking. They did not know what humanity was capable of. And that was exactly how it was supposed to be. The quiet preparation, the patience, the intelligence, they had created fear in a way the aliens could not understand. Lisa Brown looked at him. "We are only beginning," she said. "They will try to retaliate, but they will not succeed. We know them now. We have learned from them. We are ready." Kevin Moore returned from a mission, reporting success without losses. The team congratulated quietly, without celebration. They had achieved what they set out to do. They had shown strength, precision, and patience. Humanity's response had begun, and the galaxy could no longer ignore it. Emma White worked on improving weapons and ships between missions. She constantly tested new ideas, repaired old designs, and found ways to make small fleets as effective as large ones. Human ingenuity was the greatest weapon, and she was a master of it. Clara Young documented every detail, preparing records for the day when humans would fully reveal themselves. She wanted the galaxy to remember not just the strikes, but the intelligence, patience, and moral purpose behind them. Humanity did not attack for conquest or revenge. They acted to protect their species, to assert their right to exist, and to show that breaking the law of the stars had consequences. Over the next months, small victories accumulated. Alien outposts were disabled, supply lines disrupted, and fleets confused. Humans moved in silence, never giving away their strength. The aliens began to panic, sending fleets deeper into space to search for the unseen enemy. They increased patrols, deployed spies, and demanded results. Still, the humans remained hidden, striking only when the opportunity was perfect. John Carter watched the galaxy react. He realized something profound. Humans had become a force that did not rely on size, numbers, or raw power. They relied on patience, intelligence, and unity. The aliens had expected fear. Instead, they found skill, strategy, and determination. Humanity had become a shadow in the galaxy, unseen, underestimated, but far more powerful than anyone realized. Lisa Brown monitored a communication hub that the aliens had rebuilt. She noticed confusion in their messages, miscommunication between fleets, and panic spreading among leaders. Humanity's first strikes had created uncertainty, and uncertainty was more dangerous than force. The aliens did not understand how to respond. The humans had learned to turn their weakness into strength. Kevin Moore trained new pilots, teaching them the ways of silent attack, careful observation, and precise strike. Every young human learned that patience and intelligence were more important than aggression. The galaxy had never seen a species so underestimated rise so carefully and skillfully. Emma White continued to improve human technology. She found ways to disable ships without destroying them, confuse communications, and gather intelligence. Humans learned faster than the aliens expected, adapted faster, and became unpredictable. Every small success built confidence and skill. John Carter looked at the stars one night. He knew this was only the beginning. Humans had sent their first message, struck with precision, and remained hidden. The galaxy was beginning to take notice, but it still underestimated humanity. Patience, intelligence, and unity had become weapons. And when the time was right, humans would strike in ways no one could predict. Lisa Brown joined him silently. Together, they watched the distant lights of alien fleets. They were moving frantically, trying to find an invisible enemy. Humans had learned their weaknesses, adapted, and prepared. The galaxy had witnessed the beginning of human retaliation, but it did not yet see the full force of what humanity had become. Clara Young reminded the team, "Remember, we do not strike blindly. We do not kill unnecessarily. We show strength and intelligence. We are humans. We fight for justice, not cruelty. Every action is a statement. We exist and we will not be broken." The quiet strikes continued, carefully chosen, each one precise and effective. The aliens panicked, confusion spread through their ranks, and they began to fear the unknown. Humanity remained unseen, hidden, and silent. The galaxy had seen the first signs of human retaliation, and it would never forget them. John whispered, "They thought they could break us. They thought they could make us weak. We are not weak. We are patient, we are smart, and we will remind the galaxy what it means to be human." Lisa nodded. "And they will never underestimate us again." The first strikes were complete. Humans had proven that patience, intelligence, and precision could challenge the most powerful fleets in the galaxy. The fire of revenge had begun, quiet but unstoppable. And humanity knew that the next steps would be larger, more daring, and more decisive. The galaxy began to notice. Alien leaders no longer dismissed humanity as weak. Small strikes had become frequent, precise, and impossible to ignore. John Carter and Lisa Brown watched reports come in from across hidden networks. Alien fleets were moving in panic, communications were in chaos, and councils across star systems demanded answers. The humans had remained unseen, but their actions were leaving a mark. Kevin Moore gathered his pilots for a new mission. This time, they would target multiple outposts at once. It was risky but necessary. If humans were to show the galaxy that they could not be ignored, they had to act boldly while still being careful. The pilots trained for hours, reviewing every maneuver, every potential trap, every response the aliens could make. They moved like shadows, fast and silent, but perfectly coordinated. Emma White oversaw the preparation of weapons. Each device was designed to disable alien stations without unnecessary casualties. Humans did not want to become what they hated. They wanted justice, precision, and intelligence to guide every action. She tested and retested, making sure that every strike would work exactly as planned. Clara Young coordinated information gathering. Spies, scouts, and observation drones sent back data on alien fleets. She analyzed patterns, weaknesses, and errors. The aliens were predictable in some ways, careless in others. Every detail was recorded, every pattern memorized. The humans were learning faster than the aliens could respond. The first coordinated strike began quietly. Multiple human ships moved toward alien outposts across a wide sector. John Carter monitored from orbit, issuing commands in brief coded messages. Lisa Brown coordinated communications with hidden teams on other planets. Kevin Moore's pilots approached their targets carefully, moving through patrols and avoiding detection. Then, in perfect timing, the strikes began. Supply stations, communications hubs, and small fleets were disabled simultaneously. Alarms rang through the alien networks, confusion spread, and fleets scrambled. No one could find the source. Humans had struck precisely, efficiently, and invisibly. The galaxy began to realize that humanity was not just fighting back. They were mastering war in a way no one had seen before. In the hidden command center, John and Lisa exchanged a brief glance. They did not smile or cheer. They knew this was only the beginning. Every strike sent a message. Humans were not to be underestimated. The aliens believed they had won, believed humanity had been broken. Now, they saw the first signs of a species they had nearly destroyed, rising in silent power. Kevin Moore returned from the mission, reporting success with no losses. He spoke calmly, noting the efficiency of the strikes and the errors of the aliens. His pilots had moved with precision, avoiding traps, confusing patrols, and disabling stations without unnecessary damage. The human team celebrated quietly, aware that their work was far from over. Emma White reviewed data from the strikes. She noted weaknesses in alien technology, patterns in fleet movements, and errors in communication. Each discovery became part of the growing strategy. Humans learned, adapted, and prepared for the next step. Every mistake of the aliens was a lesson for humanity. Every success built confidence, knowledge, and skill. Across the galaxy, the reactions began to spread. Alien councils met in emergency sessions. Leaders shouted at each other, demanding answers, blaming one another, and fearing the unknown. The humans had created uncertainty, and uncertainty was more dangerous than power. Fleets moved in circles, patrols were doubled, but still the humans remained unseen. Clara Young sent reports to the hidden centers on Earth. She documented every reaction, every error, every weakness. These records would guide humanity in the next strikes. She reminded the teams that humans were not fighting for cruelty, but for justice. Every action had meaning, every strike was a statement. Humanity existed and it would not be broken. John Carter addressed the hidden teams. "They are beginning to understand," he said. "They thought we were weak. They believed fear would control us. Now confusion spreads. Patience has made them vulnerable. Precision has made them fearful. We continue carefully but boldly." Lisa Brown reminded everyone of their training. "We strike only when success is likely. We avoid unnecessary losses. We move as one species, united. The galaxy will soon see humans are not what they expected. They will fear us, respect us, and remember us. Over weeks, humans increased their actions. Strikes were more daring, coordinated across wider sectors. Alien supply lines were crippled. Communication networks were disrupted. Fleets were confused, moving in panic, unable to trace the enemy. Humanity remained hidden, but its presence was everywhere. The galaxy had begun to whisper about humans. Kevin Moore's pilots became masters of silent movement and precise strikes. They learned to anticipate alien reactions, to confuse, mislead, and escape. Every mission increased their skill, coordination, and confidence. The galaxy had never seen a species so underestimated rise so carefully and effectively. Emma White continued to improve human technology. She found ways to disable ships without destroying them, to confuse communications, and to gather intelligence. Humans learned faster than the aliens expected, adapted, and became unpredictable. Every small success built confidence and skill. John Carter watched the results. Alien fleets were in disarray. Leaders demanded answers. Confusion and fear spread. The humans had done more than fight. They had shown intelligence, unity, and patience. The galaxy was beginning to understand that humans were not weak. They were dangerous, precise, and unstoppable when united. Lisa Brown observed communications traffic. The aliens had increased patrols, sent spies, and tried to find the hidden enemy. Still, the humans remained unseen, striking only when the opportunity was perfect. Uncertainty spread fear faster than any weapon could. The galaxy began to realize that humans were not just survivors. They were masters of strategy, patience, and intelligence. Clara Young reminded the team to keep records. Every strike, every reaction, every mistake by the aliens was important. Humans were building knowledge, not just power. The galaxy would remember humans not for brutality, but for skill, intelligence, and the ability to fight without being seen. Kevin Moore trained new pilots, teaching them silent attack, careful observation, and precise strike. Every young human learned that patience and intelligence were more important than aggression. The galaxy had never seen humans rise in this way. The aliens had underestimated them, and it would be their mistake forever. John Carter looked at the stars. He knew humans had begun to send a message the galaxy could not ignore. They had struck with precision, remained hidden, and created fear without revealing their full strength. The first steps of retaliation were complete. Humanity was no longer a weak species. It had become a shadow in the galaxy, unseen, underestimated, and unstoppable when united. Lisa Brown joined him silently. Together, they watched the distant lights of alien fleets moving frantically. Humans had struck first, and the galaxy had begun to understand that they were no longer to be ignored. The fire of human retaliation was growing. Emma White reviewed technology and weapons systems. She constantly tested new ideas, repaired old designs, and found ways to make small fleets effective against the larger alien forces. Human ingenuity had become the most dangerous weapon, and she was a master of it. Clara Young reminded everyone of the mission. We strike for justice, not cruelty. We show intelligence and precision. Every strike is a message. Humans exist, humans remember, and humans will not be broken. Over months, humans continued coordinated strikes. Alien fleets were disrupted, supply lines crippled, and communication networks scrambled. The galaxy began to understand that humans were no longer weak. They were precise, intelligent, and deadly when needed. The aliens panicked but could not find the source. Humanity remained hidden, striking only when the opportunity was perfect. John whispered to Lisa, "They thought they could break us. They thought fear would control us. We are neither afraid nor broken. We are precise, patient, and strong. The galaxy will remember humans now." Lisa nodded, "And they will never underestimate us again." Humanity's strikes had become bold, coordinated, and unstoppable in their effect. Alien leaders realized their mistake, but they could not trace the humans. Confusion and fear spread. The galaxy had witnessed the beginning of human retaliation, and it would never forget them. The fire of human justice had grown. It was no longer hidden. The galaxy was beginning to see humans as more than survivors. They were masters of strategy, patience, and precision. Every hidden base, every trained pilot, every repaired ship was part of a growing force that could not be stopped. John looked at the stars, thinking of the millions lost, the cities destroyed, and the quiet preparation that had led to this moment. Humanity had begun its retaliation, not with chaos, but with intelligence, patience, and precision. The galaxy would never forget that humans existed, and that they would never be broken. The galaxy was no longer calm. Alien fleets moved in confusion, leaders argued, and fear spread like fire across star systems. Humans had remained hidden for years, striking with precision, patience, and intelligence. Now, humanity was ready for its final message. It would not be destruction for conquest, but proof that no species could break the law of the stars without consequence. John Carter stood in the main command center, surrounded by maps, monitors, and lists of alien outposts. Lisa Brown, Kevin Moore, Emma White, and Clara Young were all there. Every person knew their role, every mission had been rehearsed, and every plan had been perfected over months of preparation. Humanity was no longer a small, underestimated species. They were a shadow across the galaxy, quiet but unstoppable. "This is the moment," John said, his voice steady. "We will strike across multiple systems simultaneously. Every fleet, every station, every supply line will know the cost of breaking the law. We do not strike out of hate. We strike for justice, for memory, and for survival." Kevin Moore's pilots prepared for the largest coordinated strike in history. They had trained for years, studying alien fleets, patrol patterns, and weaknesses. Their ships were fast, silent, and deadly when used carefully. Each pilot knew the risks. Each knew that success required patience, skill, and precision. Emma White double-checked the weapons. Missiles, disruptors, and computer programs were ready. Humans had adapted alien technology, improved it, and created tools that could cripple entire fleets without unnecessary loss of life. Every device was tested, every sequence rehearsed. Humanity had learned that precision and intelligence were stronger than raw force. Clara Young monitored alien communications. She saw panic in every message. Fleets moved blindly, unable to find the source. Leaders demanded answers, blamed each other, and feared the unseen enemy. Humanity had created uncertainty, and uncertainty was more dangerous than power. The galaxy had begun to understand that humans were no longer weak. The first wave moved. Human ships struck multiple alien outposts in different sectors. Each attack was precise, calculated, and efficient. Supply stations were disabled, communication hubs disrupted, and fleets scattered. Aliens searched frantically, but humans were nowhere to be found. The galaxy watched in silence, unsure of who or what was responsible. John Carter coordinated the strikes, sending coded messages, monitoring progress, and adjusting plans in real time. Lisa Brown managed communications with hidden teams, making sure every action was synchronized. Kevin Moore's pilots executed maneuvers flawlessly, striking and disappearing like shadows. Every move was deliberate, every success a step closer to humanity's ultimate goal. In the command center, Emma White watched data streams from multiple missions. She noted alien mistakes, weaknesses, and patterns. Humans learned from every encounter, adapting instantly. Each strike made them stronger, more confident, and more precise. The aliens were panicked, confused, and vulnerable, but humanity remained disciplined and careful. Across the galaxy, alien leaders began to understand the truth. Humans were not just survivors. They were intelligent, patient, and coordinated. They were capable of planning and executing strikes that no alien could predict. Fear replaced pride in every council meeting. Fleets were ordered to search for a ghost enemy that did not exist. The galaxy realized, too late, that humans were no longer a weak species to be conquered. Clara Young sent reports back to hidden bases on Earth. She documented every success, every reaction, and every mistake by the aliens. These records would guide future actions and ensure that humanity remained in control of its destiny. She reminded teams that every strike was not for revenge, but for justice, memory, and survival. Humans would not become the monsters they fought against. They would remain intelligent, precise, and careful. Kevin Moore led a final strike group toward the largest alien fleet still in orbit near a major system. This was risky, but necessary. Humanity needed to show that it could act decisively, strike with precision, and leave the galaxy in awe. The pilots moved silently, coordinating with multiple hidden teams. Every maneuver was rehearsed, every step measured. They would hit the fleet at weak points and retreat before the aliens could react. John Carter and Lisa Brown monitored from orbit. The screens showed alien ships moving in panic, scanning for threats they could not find. Human ships approached the fleet silently, missiles ready, electronic disruptors activated, and communication channels jammed. The first wave struck at key systems, disabling engines and weapons without destroying life unnecessarily. The aliens panicked, realizing too late that they were under attack by a force they could not see or predict. The operation succeeded perfectly. The alien fleet was crippled, scattered, and unable to retaliate immediately. Humans had struck with intelligence, precision, and restraint. The message was clear: break the law of the stars and humanity would respond. Not with chaos, not with indiscriminate killing, but with strategy, patience, and justice. Back on Earth, survivors watched the results. There were quiet cheers but no celebrations. Humanity had proven its strength, but the work was not over. John Carter addressed the command center. The galaxy has seen what we can do. They will remember this. But we act with control, with justice, and with purpose. This is not about cruelty. It is about showing that humans exist, humans remember, and humans will not be broken. Emma White continued to improve technology. She studied captured alien systems, adapted designs, and created new tools for future operations. Human ingenuity had become the greatest weapon, and it had proved itself repeatedly. Every strike, every mission, every innovation built confidence, skill, and strength. Humanity had become a force no alien could ignore. Clara Young sent messages to hidden colonies and survivors. She reminded them that humanity had risen from destruction, learned, and acted carefully. They had struck across multiple systems, remained unseen, and forced the galaxy to respect them. Every action had purpose. Every strike had meaning. Humanity was no longer underestimated. Kevin Moore trained pilots for the next stage. They would remain precise, careful, and disciplined. Every young human learned that patience, intelligence, and coordination were stronger than raw power. The galaxy had seen the first decisive acts of human retaliation. Now, humanity was ready to show its full strength. John Carter and Lisa Brown observed the stars one night. Alien fleets moved in confusion, leaders argued, and fear spread. The galaxy had witnessed what humans could do, and it could not stop them. Humans had begun with patience and preparation, struck with intelligence and precision, and now the galaxy would never underestimate them again. Lisa whispered, "We have made them remember us." John nodded. "Yes, we have done more than survive. We have shown that humans are careful, precise, and unstoppable when united. The galaxy will never forget." Over time, humans continued coordinated actions. Alien fleets were disrupted, communication lines crippled, and supply systems disabled. The galaxy learned that humans were not weak, not afraid, and not chaotic. They were intelligent, disciplined, and united. Every hidden base, every trained pilot, every repaired ship contributed to the growing power of humanity. Clara Young reminded the teams of one truth: humanity did not strike for revenge. Every action was for justice, memory, and survival. They would not become the monsters they fought against. Humanity would remain intelligent, careful, and precise. The galaxy would remember their power, but also their restraint. John Carter looked at the stars, thinking of the millions lost, the cities destroyed, and the quiet preparation that had led to this moment. Humanity had delivered its final message. It was not chaos. It was not indiscriminate killing. It was precise, disciplined, and undeniable. The galaxy would never forget the species that had risen from near annihilation to enforce justice across the stars. Kevin Moore returned from another mission, reporting success without loss. The pilots had struck at the exact weak points, disabled key systems, and disappeared before the aliens could react. The operation had shown that humanity was not only capable of survival, but of control. The galaxy had witnessed the full force of human intelligence, patience, and strategy. Emma White continued to improve technology, adapt alien systems, and train engineers. Every advancement made humans more capable, more precise, and more dangerous in their intelligence. Humanity had proven that creativity and patience were stronger than raw power. Lisa Brown watched alien communications. Confusion, fear, and panic were everywhere. Leaders demanded explanations, fleets moved blindly, and uncertainty spread. Humans had achieved something the galaxy had never seen. A species underestimated and nearly destroyed had risen silently, struck decisively, and changed the perception of all others. John Carter whispered, "We have fulfilled our purpose. They will never forget." "Humanity is alive, precise, and unstoppable," Lisa nodded, "and they will never underestimate us again." The galaxy had been shown what humans could do. Patience, intelligence, and unity had defeated fear, chaos, and cruelty. Humans had struck across multiple systems, remained hidden, and forced the galaxy to respect them. The law of the stars had been broken, but humanity had enforced justice in response. Clara Young reminded all teams to record every detail. Humans had shown power, intelligence, and restraint. Every strike had meaning. Every mission was a lesson. The galaxy would remember, and humans would never be forgotten. John looked at the stars and thought of the millions who had died, of the cities destroyed, and of the hidden teams who had worked for years. Humanity had risen from destruction, prepared silently, and struck decisively. The galaxy had learned a new truth. Humans were patient, intelligent, and unstoppable when united, and so the final actions were complete. Humans had delivered their message. The galaxy would never forget the species that had been underestimated, nearly destroyed, and yet rose to enforce justice across the stars. Humanity had survived, learned, and acted with precision. The stars would remember, and so would every alien who had thought humans were weak. John Carter whispered one last time, "We exist, we remember, and we will never be broken." Lisa Brown smiled quietly. And now the galaxy knows. Humanity had changed the universe. Not through conquest or chaos, but through intelligence, patience, and precision. The fire of justice had been delivered, and the galaxy would never forget that humans were a force to be respected, feared, and remembered forever.